Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the E27 webinar. So happy to see you all here. So many familiar names already. So yeah, before we get started, I'm going to explain a bit about what E27 webinar is all about. So we started the E27 webinar series to facilitate learning and development of the startup community in Southeast Asia. Every 2 weeks, we bring in expert speakers from the region to share their experiences and their best practices on contemporary challenges. Kindly note that this session is recorded and we will be sharing the video post on our website later today. So today is a very special edition because we are partnering with Rapyd to bring you 3 guest speakers who will share their experience in Rapyd digitalization. So who are those speakers? The first one is that we have Joel Yarbrough, VP Asia at Rapyd. So hi Joe, how are you? And then
very, very well.
Yeah. Everyone, please give a welcome to Joe. And then after that, we have Anurag Avula, CEO and co-founder of Shopmatic. Hi Anurag, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
All right, great. And then lastly, we have Chong Goh, co-founder of Sando. Hi Chong.
Hi.
Hi, and he's broadcasting from the cafe right now at the moment. Yes, seems very busy. All right, so thank you very much, and it's very happy to see you all here. So I would also like to remind our attendees to fill in the polls that we already have made available. And then, yeah, so let's not, to keep it short, maybe we can start away with the introduction. So guys, maybe you can start from Joe and then to Anurag and Ichong. Please introduce yourself and then what exactly your company is doing.
Sure. Thanks everybody for joining. My name is Joel Yarbrough. I manage Asia Pacific for Rapyd. Rapyd is an online payments platform focused on making all the different locally preferred payment methods around the region and the world easy for entrepreneurs to integrate, so that way they can grow internationally in the most locally relevant ways.
Okay, thank you. And how about you, Anurag?
Thanks, Joel. My name is Anurag, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Shopmatic. Shopmatic essentially enables the entire ecosystem for anyone wanting to sell online and offline, and especially so for the emerging marketplace. So I guess this subject today is close to my heart, to be how do we help businesses go into a rapid digitalization mode and help businesses become successful during this time.
All right, thank you. So how about you, Ichong? Tell us about yourself and Sando.
Hi everybody, I'm Chong, and I'm a third of the boys who work at Sando. We are actually a Japanese sandwich shop. We specialize in marrying both Western cuisine and Asian cuisine into sandwiches. And we have been up and about for about a year or so. We're a pretty new startup.
All right, okay, thank you everyone for the introduction. And hi, my name is Anissa from the E27 content team. Nice to meet you all. And so yeah, we're going to start today with discussing the pain points and challenges that businesses are basically facing in terms of digitalization. So our topic today is strongly related to the big C word, the global health crisis that we are facing today, because as you all might be aware of, many offline retailers, particularly in the F&B industries, are being faced being in a situation where they have to adjust, and some of them perhaps might even need to close down their business completely. But however, what is going on with Sando here is that I'm aware that you guys actually managed to launch operations only days after the circuit breaker was announced in Singapore, which sounds quite unlikely. So Ichong, tell us about what happened since the beginning of March and then after the circuit breaker began, and what have you and the company had to go through to make this happen?
So at the start of February, we've been actually realizing that footfall and everything, walk-ins for customers has been dropping rapidly. And then when it comes to the lockdown, we have faced about 70% of drop in business, especially walk-ins, because we are based in the business district, both locations, one at Cross Street Exchange, the other one at the Alexandra Techno Park, which is based in the middle of the business hubs. And most of our customers are actually over at the offices nearby. So we're faced with quite a bit of challenges regarding how we're going to pay rent, because we are receiving lesser and lesser customers as the day goes by, especially the lockdown. and how we're going to pay for our employees and such.
Okay, I see. So I'm going to ask the next question to Anurag. So based on what Chong just shared, can you say that this experience is typical to what businesses are facing in times of crisis like this? And apart from that, what are the key challenges that you feel businesses have to solve during this crisis?
Yeah. I mean, I think I was seeing that poll question up about, what's been the impact to businesses ranging from none to extremely high. I guess there wouldn't be any business that would not be impacted by the current situation. And I guess it's more so for F&B and retail to a significant extent, wherein they're dependent on customers coming to them to be able to complete transactions and businesses to survive. So our whole goal as at Shopmatic is to be able to support businesses who are actually going through this phase to be able to reach out to their customers in a digital way, to at least enable and allow for some business to happen at least in that manner. So it's been a tremendous thing that we've been seeing across almost all businesses and all sectors, that we've seen this particular move impacting, or this pandemic impacting businesses in that manner. And there has been a significant shift to businesses going digital to be able to support their businesses by reaching out to customers and making sure that they have the access to them to come and either do a takeaway or have it delivered to their places in case of the F&B side. But also from a retail business standpoint, it's created a scenario wherein businesses now understand that they have to be digital, because these situations it's an unknown as to how long it's going to continue. And for them to stay relevant to themselves and to their customers, they need to go digital.
All right, thank you, Anurag. So now I would like to ask you, Joe, from the payments perspective, in the past few weeks, ever since the circuit breakers being launched, did you notice any difference in terms of consumer behavior, especially in how they're using payments and stuff like that?
Sure. I think the most obvious difference, right, is that cash is not a very attractive payment method for people at this point, whether it's for delivery or for pickup, right? Generally speaking, people don't really want the cash, right? They're not concerned. They're not sure if it's safe or not. And they're not comfortable offering it in a lot of cases, right? And so there's a big swing towards all forms of electronic payment method, whether that's cards, which in Singapore obviously has got a strong foothold, or e-wallets like the older side would be PayPal or a PayLah, et cetera. But I think the most explosive story in Singapore has really been the growth of Pay Now and Fast, right? Where we have this exceptional infrastructure that's been available. Lots of people had a little bit of familiarity with it, but now people are seeing that the economics are very good for the merchant. It's very cheap. Almost everybody has access to it in their pocket. And I think you see this absolutely enormous upswing in Pay Now, both because it's desirable as a way to get cashless, but it's also better for the merchant and better for the ecosystem at large. I think that's been a very positive surprise. And we do see that same phenomenon across the region, where instant real-time payment methods, which go by different names in different countries, are very much on the upswing relative to other methods that people are thinking of, right? E-wallets are obviously doing very, very well. But in markets like India, where you've got e-wallets that are really powered by the equivalent of Pay Now, we're seeing just booming growth in those categories.
Okay, I see. So now that we're clear about the challenges that are being faced by businesses from the different sides and perspective, let us dig deeper into the strategy and practical steps that they can actually take to digitize. So I'm going to start with Anurag. So what are the key steps that businesses like Sando need to go through when it comes to developing their e-commerce strategy, especially if they have never done this before? Is there any shortcuts or accelerated routes that they can take for this?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly. I think firstly, from an F&B perspective, I mean, very specific to being Sando, and I'm sure the food delivery platforms are clearly something that could be a quick start in terms of making their F&B menus available to consumers, and that's either to go through your Deliveroo's or your Grab Food and make that available to them. But it's also important for them, if you're a specialized store like Sando is, to have their own brand and to have their own flavors around about what they want to be perceived as. It would then be incumbent for them to be also able to build their own sort of branded store from that standpoint. And there are many platforms. Of course, Shopmatic is one such, where it's very easy for you to get on and set up your online store, have the product or your menu available there for consumption. And then also it makes it cheaper than what you would normally go out and do it if you were to do it through a Deliveroo or a Food Panda or Grab Food from that standpoint. So there are platforms out there, and you could actually go out and set up your online store without having to worry about your coding and requirement of technical know-how. As long as you have a great looking product and you have fantastic images, you should be able to take your business online easily. And again, also on the payment side as well, if you integrate with partners like Rapyd, it makes it all the more easier for you to be able to get that going. So having that entire ecosystem makes a lot of, it's very important and very critical. So have the storefronts, have the payments, have the last mile fulfillment at least made available in this current time on that front.
All right, thank you. So Joe, can you explain more about how exactly what businesses need to do when it comes to the payments aspect?
Well, I think the overall framework is there's really no one solution, right? Whether you go to a large platform that might be extremely costly, right? Which I think a lot of people are aware of right now. You go to a platform that gives you a little bit more control at better cost. There might be a more setup time and configuration that frankly you might not have the time for. Or a very low-end solution like a simple website with your WhatsApp number on it, which is also your Pay Now number. All of them are viable options depending on where you are as a business, right? So I think really understanding where you want to start, which end of the complexity curve you need to get on, because no matter what, getting revenue in the door has got to be the most important thing for you, and getting distribution to match that with something that's easy for customers to at least get a basic order in. And then you can scale up from there or scale down from there, depending on the nature of your team, how many people you have available, whether your partners are technical or not technical, et cetera. I think payments, there are a lot of choices, right? There's a lot of choices in particular in the credit card side, non-credit card payments, which is obviously, as I said before, a very, very important growth segment for people. It's a little bit harder, right? You need to have either a very close relationship with your bank, you need to already have a relationship with some of the e-wallet players, or you need a platform like Rapyd that really tries to bring that together as a single source of those payment methods. So that way you don't have to make that your specialty. You can worry about your product, you can worry about your catalog and your customers, and payment doesn't have to be the primary focus of what you're trying to do because it's available to you. But I think making sure that you do sign up, you do the research, and you do take action is probably the most important thing. And once the ball is rolling, you'll figure out which direction works the best for your customers and focus your time there.
Yeah, Anisa, if I may add, I think speed is the essence. Speed is important at this point in time. You don't want to spend months trying to build something out. As Joel was mentioning, the faster you get started, the faster you put something out there, and then you can evolve that into something more significant. But being able to get out there and put it out there quickly and have your products discovered by consumers during this time makes a lot of sense. And I think that's something which one should factor for as well.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I also imagine that speed and time should be something that's really crucial at moments like this, especially considering how there's always something new going on every day. So I'd like to go back to Ichung and Sando. After what happened to your business months ago, what are the lessons that you have learned in this experience? And what would you do if you were to set up your online store from scratch again?
So previously, before pre-COVID-19, we were just solely dependent on our delivery platform, the major delivery platforms, heading towards that redirection without any online store or anything. So going to COVID, it's pretty much of a rush to get into to digitalize our stores and everything. So I feel like if I were to go back in time and start developing my web store again, I would have gone to select maybe agencies that can help you host everything, domains and whatnot, and set it up properly and put them proper with actual proper payment methods, rather than the methods that I'm using now, which I'm more focusing on texting the customers, sending them our Pay Now QR code and getting them to pay from there. So right now, I'm actually looking into incorporating like other digital platforms, incorporating into our website and getting them to pay from there. So it's much easier that way. So it's all about streamlining the process. So for now, I feel like if I weren't as tech savvy, I wouldn't be able to create a website on my own. So I think this is a problem that quite a number of F&B owners would face, as I've spoken to a couple of my friends. So this will be it'll be an issue for quite a few F&B owners, I guess. And I feel like it'll be hefty because given the amount of time we actually have to set up our online stores and whatnot. So I feel maybe going to a proper localized business that actually helps us with the payment and delivery and whatnot would be so much easier. So right now, with my experience, I think I would have gone through that route.
Okay, I see. So basically there's an element of speed that is important here and the element of streamlining the whole process into one platform. So I have another question for Joe and Anurag. Do you guys have any other case studies about businesses who managed to turn things around within such short time during this time of crisis?
So I can give you one example, again, from an F&B space. We have during the Ramadan time, we have a restaurant called Aroma Kampung that was obviously struggling to figure out how to do this. They came and set up a store. And actually, after a few days, they had to bring it down for a couple of hours because they were getting so many orders that they couldn't handle it at that point in time. So we had to go back in and educate them on how to make that happen. But right now they're getting about 1,500 to 2,000 orders a month just by making themselves available on a platform that was not one of those food delivery platforms. So we have a real life case which started out in March. In fact, they become one of our top transacting merchants as well in this last 2 months itself by just focusing on the opportunity that COVID presented them with and then being fast enough to move on to that and leverage that platform. So very close example to what Sando is going through. But yeah, so pre-COVID was low, but after COVID now, during COVID, they've actually started to up their business significantly.
Okay, I see. And how about you, Joe? Do you see any other case studies?
Yeah, and I think one we're seeing, so we talked about domestic use cases, right, and food and serving the local domestic market. I think we're seeing also a lot of growth with merchants that are actually trying to go overseas. And they had a minor strategy in going overseas and selling, whether it's digital goods or services that they can execute from their home. We've got a merchant that we've grown their revenue for the year by about 40%, just based over the last 2 months of the period of time in COVID, simply by adding new countries with locally relevant payment methods in those countries. And their buyers are sitting at home looking for stuff to do and looking to transact. And they're just seeing the growth be off the charts, more than 100% week on week. Simply because we're adding new payment methods that they really didn't have access to before and really didn't prioritize before. So I think we do see the demand is there, and most of the people we talk to still see a lot of need for their business. They still see things growing, but there's just distribution breaks at this point, and anything you can do to lower those distribution barriers and lower the barriers to pay, you'll see lots of conversion potential just by reaching out and getting those barriers out of the way, which leveraging platform partners, whether it's someone like an Anurag or someone like a Rapyd, we see those barriers as very surmountable at this point.
Okay, I see. So one thing that I'm curious about is that for many businesses, in order to digitize their services, what are usually the barriers or the blocks that they are facing or maybe in other ways, that what are businesses like you can do in order to promote this digitization to offline businesses?
I think the funniest thing or not funny, but I think what I just heard Chong say, there's actually an awareness problem that I think we have to deal with as well. Whether it's small agencies that can serve small businesses and really give them the focus, right, about how to bring a full solution to the market, or a larger level of awareness so that it's clear not only what Anurag's business is doing, but what his competitors are doing. Because if we're really relying on small businesses to do a market screen, identify the right tools, make choices, while at the same time they're also working extremely diligently to take care of both their existing customers and their staff, that's probably a lot to ask, right? So I think that solving that discovery challenge so people know what options are out there and why they should choose which ones versus other ones is probably something we in the ecosystem could do a lot better on, seeing what flavors of choice really are out there. I mean, Chong, I wonder what your investigation process has been so far, and if you're really finding choices today that you weren't finding previously.
Okay, and how about you, Anurag?
Yeah, so I think for us, answer is similar, and just borrowing from what Sando and Joel said, in our view, there are about, there's three things. One is awareness about solutions like such as ours, and what can actually be made discoverable easier and for people to find out about us. I think that's one. The second is know-how, technical know-how as a barrier. I guess people sometimes think that it's very complex, but it's not as much as it was in the previous days as it is now. It's relatively simple to get yourself up and ready and going to get yourself online. And the third is inertia, which is I don't need to do it because it's okay, my business is fine. But then when some earth-shattering event happens, that inertia is now, I think, diminished. So that inertia has kind of been taken over by the pandemic and its impact that it's had on businesses, and hence that's sort of pushing people into going digital at this point in time. So, I mean, we've obviously seen a lot of benefit come out of that from that perspective. But I guess these are the three areas that I would count as to why people sometimes don't get to going digital, at least the barriers to going digital.
All right, thank you guys. So yeah, the next discussion is when businesses are already in the situation when they have finally started to make the migration. They have become digitized, it's already up and running online. So what is next? How exactly can business owners improve and optimize this opportunity? And what are the pitfalls that they should be wary about? Maybe Joe, would you like to start?
So I was focused on the new survey question. So we advertise the survey question as well.
Okay.
What are the pitfalls? I honestly, I'm at the risk of being redundant. I would say the pitfall is inaction, right? Or picking one course and sticking with the course you already have. I think there isn't one right answer. I think there isn't one right customer base. And honestly, things are changing on an almost weekly basis. And so having a bias to action, I think, is the most important thing. Somebody asked me offline in the chat, is our business going down? Is it going up? What's happening? And I would say, across the board, our team is working, if anything, much, much harder than they were before, right? Many more hours a day, many more meetings, greater diversity of what's happening, because there is an eagerness to get stuff done. And people, I think, are recognizing that nothing is going to go back to quote unquote normal the way that it was. And that whatever we pursue going forward is going to involve a basket of solutions, right? So the mistake is not leaning in and trying to investigate and find those solutions that work for your business and your customer. And inaction is going to be your worst enemy.
Okay, and how about you, Anurag?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. I also do think that the digital world is evolving, and once we get into being in a specific space, what was good, as we all know, what was good 3 months ago is not good anymore. And how do you continue to adapt to that situation in this current context of time? For instance, there were non-essential businesses that were online, say, for example, in India, and that's taken gone downhill because there were no last mile fulfillment for non-essential services in India. So a lot of them we saw adding on different business lines, which became more essential services, and started to put food and things like that got classified as essential services for them to continue to stay in business. But I think it's also, communication with your customers is important, even in the non-COVID time, and continuously staying relevant to the customers and keeping them abreast about what's happening with you. And our belief is that there is a story behind the entrepreneur or the business, and that story needs to be able to be told consistently and told continuously for businesses to get and draw customers to themselves. And I think that's the promise that we believe in, that you keep telling your story in a good way to as many customers as possible even during the non-COVID times.
All right, okay. So Ichong, what are your experience in this? How did you improve and optimize your businesses once you've gone online?
Right now, we're still in the midst of getting a feel of how digitalization works, and we are still getting the name out there. So one of our main concerns is about retention, because when we started this digitalization, we started off pretty high, and right now it's just dwindling downwards. So my main concern would be the retention of customers, how we're going to continue moving forward, and how we're going to optimize the keywords so that it will appear more at the top of the pages and stuff like that, and putting out new content on our sites, our social media pages and whatnot. So ideally, it's all about retention for now.
Okay, I see. So what are the data points or elements that you're looking at in order to to find out that we have done enough or we still need to do more?
Right now, the main focus would be what traction are we getting from like the searches, what are keywords that are being used, and how many people actually come from our social media pages such as Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that. And the gauge would probably be the amount of people completing the forms, the order forms that we're using right now, because we don't have a proper payment method and ordering method. So it's mostly the customers going to our website, filling up the form and completing it, and we'll receive the data from the Excel sheet. So as of now, we're still basing off the data from our domain for now. But we are still learning the process for digitalization.
Okay, I see. And now for Joe and Anurag, what are the tips that you can share for businesses in order to drive retention in this digital era?
It's sort of mostly content driven, because for small businesses like us, our main source of like marketing would be from our social media standpoint. So how much content we put out, what are content that's more relevant to our customers, are we able to put out like visual stimulating like pictures, videos and whatnot. So, and I mean, I find it pretty helpful for like Facebook groups, like for example, the rescue restaurants Facebook group. It gained us a substantial amount of customers. So that would be one of the ways that businesses can look towards too, and ultimately content they put out there.
Yeah, for sure. I think in addition, there's a few different techniques, right? Trying to get pre-orders, right? So whether you can convince someone to order a couple days in advance and to schedule a purchase, schedule a meal, gift cards and gifting is a variety of that. And I think the holy grail is ultimately, can you figure out a way to convert customers into a subscription customer? So you get them, a couple of days a month, right, to trial the product. So you're not reacquiring them every single time, because reacquisition is the second most expensive thing you're going to have to do. In our case, in my household, we actually subscribe to bread. We were not making our own sourdough yet. We're just subscribing to it. And so a couple of loaves appear every Saturday, and we're pretty happy for a few days, right? And you can picture that working in some other businesses and not working at all in others, right? But to get that type of forward-looking view, as well as repeat order view, is a holy grail, I think, for a lot of businesses.
Right.
I think communication is super critical, as Chong was saying, right? I think communication and recency of communication, and also what are you communicating? As in, there's a play that is support local or support Singapore businesses. And I think playing to that again makes a big difference as well too, because everybody wants to support and do something during this time to be able to give in its own way. So I guess that's one of the pieces that would also be quite relevant for businesses to follow, to continue to stay local to the themes that are there in the market, but also communication and just putting out your story out there as we to make sure that people are aware as to what you're doing, what you're going through, and I think people connect to the story, and then your business will grow.
All right, I see. Okay. Right. So before we move on to the question and answer session, if you guys were able to explain in one word what are the thing that is going to make a substantial difference when it comes to digitalization, what would it be? What would be the one advice that you would give to our audiences here about how to best perform this digitization? Maybe Ichong would like to start?
Say time is the essence. How quickly you do it, how quickly you can get people to get on board, looking at your content, and basically driving sales.
Okay, and how about Anurag? Anything you would like to share?
I think the core essence is to go digital. I think that's the underlying piece, and I think to look for solutions that are out there that are easy, fast, simple to use and get started, and then to evolve it as you go along. But I think those would be the two parameters for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to find what's right for your business, right? I think Chong shared that some of the accessible solutions might not be what he's looking for from a simplicity and a complexity standpoint. So don't start with Pay Now, start with a platform. I think other people will find the opposite because their needs might be simpler, right? So find something that works for you, and then do the next thing and do the next thing, right? It's like tacking a sailboat. You've got to move very, very quickly to get where you're trying to go. You can't take a long time to plan in this environment, because mostly people's plans, I think we've found, are going to be inaccurate.
All right. Okay. Thank you, guys. So right now we're moving to the question and answer session. We already have questions coming from our audiences. So the first one is from Daryl. Hi, Daryl. So the question would be, what are the considerations for a retail business to choose between listing on an online marketplace versus listing on a super app like Grab, or developing its own channels, which we already touched earlier? So what are the things that they should consider here between choosing of all the options available in the market today? So maybe Anurag would like to start.
Yeah, sure. I think it's a great question because it obviously puts out the choices that one has for engaging with different digital channels. But so one of the pieces is that each business is different. But what you would like to look for is a platform that provides a multitude of different digital channels that one can access. So be it creating your own branded store, being able to use social commerce platforms from that platform, or also being able to sell to the different marketplaces and making that available to you from one single place would be one of the key determinants in my view. And if it's modular or menu based, you would then be in a position to leverage all the capabilities that the platform has according to your own evolving needs that you have as a business. So you do have platforms that can actually support those capabilities, and then you could take that from there.
Okay, I see. And now maybe Ichung would like to share your insights, your experience with this.
I mean, choosing a platform that is more suitable to your business would be key, and your number of customers on that particular platform works as well. It's more used as a gauge to tell you whether you should choose this or not. And payment method wise, which is the most convenient for customers, that's ultimately it.
All right. Okay. And Joe, what are the perspective from payments regarding this? Like, if someone is here is considering between a super app and then a marketplace, then what are their considerations would be?
At the end of the day, I think you can't choose just one, right? I think you're going to get immediate scale and reach from a super app, but you're going to pay the highest possible cost, right? You'll pay a lot less for rolling your own on top of a platform, but you'll have to do more effort around customer acquisition, et cetera. And honestly, I think you need to do both, right? As much as you have the capacity to do it, pick as many channels as possible, and then you start to tune based on the cost of the revenue, right? Whether it's cost per acquisition, cost per order, et cetera. You need to be doing that math, right, to figure out what's working best for your business, and then double and triple down on that. There are people who are going to find that social Facebook groups like Restaurant Rescue are more than they can stand, right? There's as much order capacity as they have. Other people, that'll be the tip of the iceberg, and they want to jump in and do Facebook ads to drive people to their own site, or rely on Grab or Deliveroo for their volume, right? At the end of the day, it's a cost equation, right? How much are you paying to get the customer in the door? How much are you costing for the payment? What kind of rev share do you have to provide to the platform? Because ultimately you still have to pay your costs and pay for your staff, right? There isn't going to be one answer. And if you only try one answer, you're not going to have the data to figure out what the most economic variety was for you, right? You do need that data to make those decisions.
All right, thank you. So the next question is, since Joe here mentions a bit about cost, and I think this is one of the more challenging questions that came up today. So it goes like this. While the digitalization of retail business is mission critical in the world today, there is an increase in OPEX and in the short run to adopt new softwares and solutions, and a simultaneous decrease in margins due to sales commissions or transaction costs. How can the unit economics be sustainable in the long run? So this is about the long run. So do you guys have any ideas or insight that you'd like to share about this?
Anurag, you would take a stab.
I can. So I think I mean, again, depending on what do you want out of your whole solution. If you want to go and get a fully customized digital playbook, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you upwards of $10,000. Or do you want hosted KIP solutions that are there, that are available, ranging at a subscription plans ranging from $30 a month right up to $500 a month, depending on what kind of solutions you want. So the whole piece is that you need to pick the right solution for your time in business. I think it's critical that businesses go digital. So I don't think that's a question that needs to be answered, because if you don't go digital, you don't get business. If you don't get business, then you don't pay any costs, true, but then you don't get any business either. So there is a cost of doing business, and one needs to account for whether that is actually good enough. That cost is works for yourself or not. So just for our example case, when we get merchants started out, they pay us 3% per transaction and a $1 as a hosting fee. So you could actually start as low as that, and then build yourself up as you start to get your business going through the door. So there are many solutions out there. Depends on what is it that you want and what is the brand that you have. There's no one size fits all solution here.
All right. Okay. So Joe, would you like to add something, or?
No, I think it's what you just said. There isn't one size fits all. You do have to do the math. And ultimately, is it sustainable long term? I mean, restaurants, just to stick with that category, in Singapore, are quite used to paying 20% plus for a new customer, right? The problem they face is that same customer shows up again and again and wants 20% off on their 5th and their 10th purchase. That's a real problematic situation, right? Because you're now paying to reacquire a customer who's already your customer. And so the ability of any one platform to overcharge you potentially on the first order or the 30th order is something you've got to manage, right? And if you don't have control over your own customers, as Chong said, if you don't have the ability to reacquire your own customer and manage those relationships directly, you are going to overpay over the long haul. So you can't have one route, right? It cannot be just one platform. You need to have your own brand, your own ability to interact with your customers, your ability to bring your customers to you through SEO and SEM. And it's a more complex piece of the puzzle, right? You have to be a multi-channel retailer at this point. You can't be a one-channel retailer.
Okay, I see. And Jong, how about you? What are the perspectives of the business owner here?
There are a lot of platforms out there right now. For example, the major delivery partners that we partnered with. But honestly, I don't know if it's sustainable. If it's just these platforms itself. So right now, our focus is to shifting towards our own platform where we can converse with the customers and get sales from there. And it's working for us right now. So I mean, definitely it's not one size fits all solution. It's what you guys have suggested. So for now, it's working for us.
All right. Okay, I see. So now we also have questions that are going into more details about how exactly your solutions work. Like, for example, the question here is about how quickly can customers go online with Shopmatic? And I would also like to ask the same question to Joe. So how exactly the onboarding process here, if let's just say our audience has decided, okay, we're going to try this. Maybe Anurag.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I think so. Our product is tailored essentially for customers, retailers, and businesses within emerging markets. So it's true that our platform, you can actually go online and set up your business within 30 minutes, provided you have pictures of your catalog or your product. And we have single-click capabilities for you to be able to set up your store and go online within 30 minutes. It's as simple as that. And then you can basically get started. And after that, you can continue to evolve yourself into your SEO or SEM strategies, your different other avenues of doing social commerce pieces that are also available. Or if you are a retail business, for you to be able to sell through marketplaces like Lazada and Shopee. So what Shopmatic does is provides that all of those channels. So you could sell on Facebook, on Instagram, on WhatsApp, on Lazada, on Shopee, on Carousel, on Q10, and your own online store within that time frame, and just gets yourself ready to go. And also integrated with payment platforms, whether it's Pay Now, or also the last mile fulfillment. So all of that becomes easily available for you through the platform that we provide.
Yeah, I think somebody in the Q&A kind of asked the same question about Rapyd earlier, and how our business has changed. I think, we, for the most of the last couple of years, have been very focused on large businesses, right? With the need to grow global, need to go super regional, et cetera. And so part of what we've done to try to respond to the crisis is make our onboarding process simpler, self-service, really open up our sandbox so that people can get in and start to experiment very quickly, and really reduce those barriers to entry. That said, we're a startup, so we're still very imperfect at a lot of the things that we do. So in our case, legitimately, it would take a merchant about a couple of weeks to get online, which is why we look at partners like Shopmatic as a fast path for people that are much smaller businesses, and better ways than to kind of roll it yourself, even with a platform like Rapyd, right? So if you're more sophisticated, have some technical capability, by all means, we can get people up and running and able to sell globally in a couple of weeks. If you are closer to someone who needs a full solution prepackaged, you're much better off going with Shopmatic or one of their competitors to get online right away and potentially today.
Right, okay. So the next question is related to the discussion regarding brand awareness that we had earlier. So this is from Jay Chin, and he would like to know the most appropriate platform to gain brand awareness and the lowest possible cost of customer acquisition. So yeah, Ichong had shared his experience earlier, like by using Facebook groups. So perhaps maybe Anurag or Joe would like to share more about this.
Yeah, so I mean, again, the sound of cost sounding repetitive, no one answer to this, but essentially, if you look at Southeast Asia, you find that merchants or buyers, in fact, go up to 3.5 to 3.8 platforms before they complete a transaction. So that goes back to the argument that you need to be across as many platforms as possible for you to be able to discover your product to be discovered. But the easiest first avenue is to obviously use the social platforms and your own follower group or your own influencer group, be it Facebook or Instagram. And then if you're in a retail business and you are a registered business, you want to be out there, you go out to Lazada, Shopee, and the marketplaces, and you slowly build and evolve your own customer branded store that you have, and start to bring customers through the door, through that route. So that's essentially, the brand awareness takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a consistent, continuous effort that one would need to do to invest behind for you to be able to have your brand be developed. On a product discovery, there are many platforms for product discovery, and you should actually leverage as many platforms as you can to make your products discoverable by buyers.
Okay, I see. Right, so I have another question that is a bit specific about digital payments in Southeast Asia, so perhaps Joe is the best to answer this. It's from Isnur Rahmat, and it's about the usage of digital payments in Southeast Asia, especially in markets like outside of Singapore, there is Indonesia, and how exactly does it increase in times of crisis like this? Because you mentioned earlier that in Singapore, there is an increase, and then in other regions, there's also an increase. And would you be able to share more about that?
I mean, honestly, I think across every market in Southeast Asia and even across almost every market in Asia, there are numerous local digital wallets. There's numerous local bank transfer standards to do instant payments. If anything, credit cards are probably the thing that's lagging a little bit because the card companies are less likely to offer cards to customers that they weren't trying to underwrite before, particularly in a time of crisis. But I think it's very, very easy for people to download an app, to start to use, whether it's their bank to make instant payments or use an e-wallet to make instant payments. And so what we're seeing across the board is absolutely stratospheric increases in that daily usage of e-wallets and other online payment methods. One of the studies that we did, we actually have in Indonesia, more than 30% of the population views themselves as innovators and are eagerly trying new digital payment methods. And more people report they make an online payment every day than make a payment in store at this point. So people are definitely looking for things to do, and they're definitely using digital payments to do it.
Okay. And does it happen across different industry verticals, or is there any specific industries?
I mean, I think it's really across the board. I think we do absolutely, food is a daily essential. So we do see food, but we see a lot of shopping, right, happening, whether it's clothing, shoes and accessories, beauty and health products, things to occupy people's time. To a lesser extent, electronics, and then after that, it starts to fall off, right? Entertainment is still relatively high in the number 5, number 6 category. But I think people are looking for things to do with their time at home, and clothing, shopping, and beauty makes them feel good, and food makes them feel warm in the tummy.
Right. yeah, that's some ideas that we can. All right, so we're starting to run out of time here, so I'm going to make a little conclusion from what we're discussing today. So yes, when it comes to digitization, there's a matter of time and speed, which is very important. And then there's also a matter of streamlining the effort and the process of going through it. And then also in terms of the Southeast Asian market, like Singapore and even other countries, we see like there is an increase in terms of the use of digital payments, which means that businesses are starting to have the awareness that this is something that is very important in times like this. That yeah, change is definitely something that is bound to happen. So yes, this has been a very engaging session. Thank you for Joe and Nora and Ichong for your insight and sharing your experience here. And I would like to remind our attendees that we have another interesting session coming up this week on Thursday, which is about the future of investing. We have two speakers coming from, the first one will be Paul Mayers, and then the second will be UC from Antler, and they will be basically discussing the topic that is very popular nowadays on our platform and everyone is asking about, which is the future of investing after the pandemic. So make sure you register, all the details are in our site. And then after this, we will also send out a survey shortly after the webinar. So please take your time to let us know the other topics that you wish to hear, and then how basically we can improve this webinar in the future. And also, we would like to remind you about our contribution program. It's a program where we publish thought leadership pieces by players in the Southeast Asian startup ecosystem. If you have any questions about this program, feel free to reach out to us on writers@e27.co, and so that you can learn more about this program and to submit your writings. So meanwhile, you can also connect with us using our FB, and then you can also join our Telegram channel and group for more about discussion from this community. Now for the speakers themselves, if the audiences have follow-up questions to you about what your business is or about basically digitizing in times of crisis, what are the ways to reach out to you? Like for example, Joel, maybe?
My email address is just fine, joel@rapyd.net. Or if you go to rapyd.net, obviously you can hit a contact us form and get to me pretty easily, or anyone else in our team, and we're happy to help.
All right, okay, Anurag?
Yeah, same here. My email is anurag@goshopmatic.com, or you could go into our site and just put it down there and address it to me. I'll get it. Yeah.
Okay, and Ichong?
You can head to our site at sandosingapore.com. My email is there. And if you'd like to order food.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're definitely stopping by at your shop after this. So yeah.
Awesome.
All right. So thank you everyone for tuning in, for joining us in our session today. And we'd like to thank you to Joe, Anurag, and Icho for sharing their insight and experience. Thank you very much, guys. Please take care. It has been a very interesting session today.
Thanks for having us, and thank you everybody for dialing in.
Thank you.
All right,
everyone.
Take care.
Hey guys, your questions will be sending you a reply to all these questions. Don't worry about this, to all of those who haven't answered here. Yeah, we'll definitely reach out. Yeah.
Okay, great, awesome. All right, thank you everyone. Take care. It's been a great one.
Thanks, Ichong.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I'm going to.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Anissa.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Anissa.